Hey guys, I'm live here. I'm getting ready to do Battle Born BBQ radio show in Las Vegas, Nevada with Tony Merck.
All right, you ready? Here we go.
Yes, sir. I just want to tell everybody I've got a 46-inch TV screen behind me. That's why I'm kind of looking around all the time. It looks kind of strange.
No problem. All right, let's get this rocking here. Okay, folks, good morning. Tony Merck once again, Battle Born BBQ Radio. Almost 4 minutes past the hour here. And once again, we are the listener-supported 91.5 The Rebel HD2. UNLV Las Vegas, the broadcast service of UNLV. Myself is here. David Shackett's online with us once again. David, good morning. How are you today?
Hey, good morning. I'm trying to say hi to everybody that's actually joined in, and there's just way too many people. Rodney, Donnie, Kevin, Eric, Daniel, Brian, Edward. You could go on my YouTube channel and catch live video, or you can call in with Tony here.
And folks, from the bottom of my heart, thank you all so much for listening in, chiming in. Dave has been such an immense resource to us over the last month or so. Just basically dropping what he's doing to help support the show and bring it to new levels. And gosh, without that, I don't know where we would be. So, but again, thank you so much for listening. The phone lines are open too, guys. 702-895-3915 is the number. And hold on one second here. I need to hit another button. I always seem to do that. What I try to do is we try to record the shows, and we have a player that can record the shows. And I had the disc in there ready to go, and I forgot to I forgot to hit the button there at the start. But we're okay. Just a minute or two late. It's not a big deal. Before we get going, though, real quick, I had a little snafu this morning coming into the studio. I seem to have misplaced my badge, my excess badge, to get into the building. So I have to give a shout out to a couple members of the campus police. First to Steve, who answered my phone call, and also to Gus, who drove by to let me into the building. So special shout out to those guys. Thank you so much for not only saving me, but also helping me get into the studio in time and get everything rocking and rolling for our show today. So again, I want to give a shout out to them. Thank you so much for your support and for what you do here on campus, protecting everybody. So, and that goes to all the campus police, everybody else as well. But I wanted to get that in there before we go. Okay. Also, before we get going into our show here, which is very important, food safety is extremely important, especially this time of year when we get the temperatures into the 80s and the 90s. And of course, here in the desert, we're already, in fact, we got an excessive heat wave here. Right now, we are at 83 degrees. We are looking at a high today of 108, and we do have an excessive heat warning in effect. That was posted by the National Weather Service about 4 hours ago. So just to throw that out there to everybody. So if you are coming to town, if you're, make sure you drink plenty of fluids, keep the water intake or whatever you drink. Again, you may want to stay away from the alcohol a little bit, especially if you're outside.
Coffee.
But,
stay away from coffee.
It's very important to keep those fluids handy at all times. Okay, next week's show, hard to believe, David, is going to be my 1-year anniversary show of Battle Born BBQ Radio. How time flies. And I'm planning to have some special guests in studio. Of course, David will most likely be in on it as well.
Yes.
And really looking forward to it because it's hard to believe it's been a year, and my gosh, we're moving forward. It's hard to believe it's been a year's flown by. It really has. So I'm very excited about that. And so again, that'll be next week's show. We'll talk more about that. We'll post more details there in effect as the week progresses. All right. So now that we got all the housekeeping stuff out of the way, I think it's time to talk about our main topic here. And by the way, we had a really great show last week. I was really excited about not only the topic about the fat side up and the fat side down, but finding out later on the number of people that actually listened to the show and chimed in, if you will. at least in parts, and that was great to get the response that we had.
Yeah, I'm looking that up right now for you, Tony. We had, sorry about that.
No problem.
567 people.
That's amazing. I mean, for the first shot out of the gate, yeah. I mean, that's unbelievable. I mean, that's I couldn't be happier than that. And hopefully the numbers continue to rise and continue to grow as we build the show moving forward. And of course, it's all coming, folks. The website will be coming. The social media components will be coming on Battle Born BBQ. It's just getting one piece in at a time. I'm going to work on that. There's a new logo. I got a new logo coming out here shortly for myself with Battle Born BBQ, both on the radio side and my concept side, if you will. David had the old logo that he posted, or the current logo that he posted with his on Facebook last night, which is really nice of him to do that. Appreciate that, by the way. It dawned on me because I was hearing the East Coast was getting a heat wave, and the Midwest was getting a heat wave, and thunderstorms in the Chicago area, because I know the Dodgers had played the Cubs, and Monday night's game got rained out, and they had a storm go through, and power outages. And I was thinking to myself, I said, you know what? This is probably a good idea to once again bring up food sanitation and food safety. Folks, you can never have enough knowledge and education in this area. I can't stress it enough. How many times do we go to, whether or not it's even so much a restaurant, but let's just say we go to a cousin's or an uncle's house or whatever, grandparents' house for a cookout. How many times do we see the coleslaw or the potato salad sitting out? Drives me, and there's no ice underneath to protect it or anything. It drives me nuts to no end. And especially when you got mayonnaise-based sauces or mustard-based salads. It's almost like, to me, running the hand down the old chalkboards. You know what I mean? It's just a pet peeve of mine. I was trained to be a chef and trained to know more about food safety. And yes, I know more than the average bear, if you will. But still, it's so important to have these things in place because, God forbid, what if you made someone sick at your own party? You know,
not good.
If you get a cousin or an uncle sick from something, and then all of a sudden they had other medical issues, and it just chain reacts to something. You just never know. These things can happen out of nowhere. And even so, and even on the flip side of that, you know, Dave, it's happened before where you put all the safety valves in place, and there's something that you just can't control, and boom, something does happen nonetheless. So it is kind of a double-edged sword in a way, but you have to learn how to put all the safety components in place. And the good thing is it's not rocket science. It's more common sense than anything else. Wouldn't you agree?
Right. Absolutely.
You know? So I thought this was a good time to talk about it, especially with the temperatures heating up. We just came off of Memorial Day weekend, and that holiday, the 4th of July, is coming up here in less than 2 weeks. So, you know, just thought maybe this would be a good time to share about the subject again. So what I'm going to do now, Dave, I'll let you know, I've kind of battled on here for a couple of moments. So why don't you go ahead and you have something to share here, please, by all means, fire away.
Well, I was going to, hey, Lyndon, how are you doing? Somebody just said something to me.
Oh, yeah, keep it. Anybody want to announce who's listening in, by all means, fire away.
Yeah, put up some questions. I'll try to get to them, or Tony will get to them.
And again, 702-895-3915. I have an open line, so if you want to call in that way too, you certainly can as well.
So, what gets me, cut up onions. Like they'll dice them up for hot dogs and hamburgers and stuff and leave them out in the sun. Let me tell you something. It doesn't take long at all before you're sick off of onions. You know, you said, well, the meat's up to temperature. It was so hot and this was right and that was right, but I got sick. I don't know how I got sick. Did you have onions? Well, yeah, there you go. A lot of people don't know. Keep those things cold. They grow bacteria real fast. If you ever walk up to a place and you smell onions, I mean like really smell onions, stay away from it. Don't eat them. They should smell like onions, not sour onions. And if I've walked by places like that where they're cooking something and they ask you, do you want onions on there? And you can just smell them. It's just a real sour smell. I know you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yep, exactly. Especially, it also looks at the color of the onions too, especially if they're raw onions.
Right.
You know, if you start seeing them turning translucent or start looking clear, in other words, they kind of look like they're partially sauteed, but they're not. You probably want to stay away from those too.
Yeah, if you could read a book through them, don't eat them. Not
That's a good
not
point.
a good thing.
Good point. That's a good point. Any other? I would assume most. I don't like to assume anything, but most vegetables probably fall in the same category besides onions. I would imagine.
Well, there's something right now with cantaloupe and honeydew. There's been some recalls, and romaine lettuce. A lot of recalls on romaine lettuce, honeydew, and people don't understand when you get a honeydew, there's bacteria, there's salmonella bacteria all over that thing on the cantaloupe and the honeydews, and they're saying, well, I'm not eating the outside, but I'm going to take it and I'm going to cut the knife and open it up and start eating it like that. You're going to get sick. What you're doing is you're taking and slicing the bacteria through it into the knife, into the meat, which the meat is called the inside of the honeydew or the cantaloupe.
Sure.
So you take it and you're wiping the bacteria inside there, and then you cut it up and then you eat it, and you end up getting sick and don't know why.
Right.
So
it's crazy, and I think a lot of people out there, and I'm maybe I'm being a little off base here, but I think when people think about food, when they talk about like salmonella and we talk about other food diseases, I think sometimes people may lean more toward the proteins, your beef and your chicken and your pork. I think they focus more on those, and they don't focus so much on vegetables and fruits and how you can cross-contaminate and make somebody sick that way as well.
Yeah, the biggest goodness gracious, I can't remember the word for it. Potentially hazardous food would be rice. If rice isn't up to temperature, if rice isn't maintained at a temperature, proper temperature, you're going to get sick. I mean, you have, believe it or not, you can really get sick off of rice. And bean sprouts, I know somebody that almost died from bean sprout poisoning. That's I like bean sprouts. They're different, but I like them. They're good. So, but you have to also be careful. If they're slimy, if anything's slimy, if chicken's slimy, don't eat it. If bean sprouts are slimy, don't eat it. If fish is slimy, don't eat it.
Basically, anything that looks slimy, don't eat it. I mean, again, like you said, if you can read through it, don't eat it.
Right. I
think if anything today, if you learn from the show, maybe that one line, that's one distinction right there. It's perfect to keep it simple and in layman's terms.
Right.
Pretty much. But again, you brought up some interesting points here. Again, you're bringing up some areas of food poisonings and whatnot that, again, a lot of people probably don't realize is what you can pretty much get someone sick just from fruits and vegetables just as much as you can with your proteins. And again, I think a lot of people focus on the proteins more than they do the other stuff. And that's why we're bringing this to the table, because again, it's so important to talk about these things, especially this time of year where it's, and even though we get to the winter time and you're doing events and stuff, you can't take your foot off the gas. You still have to be very diligent in your food handling procedures. I mean, we're not saying you only do this in the summertime and not in the winter. I mean, you should be doing it, 24/7, 365, in my opinion. So I'm sure you would agree with that.
Absolutely.
As well.
100%.
All right. So now another part that I've mentioned this many times on my broadcasts throughout the last year, and again, it's more about keeping common sense things. It's kind of like the golden rule of food. You serve hot foods hot, and you serve cold foods cold. It sounds simple, and it should be simple, but again, people have a tendency to, try to skate by sometimes. But basically, according to most food, when it comes to like health departments, health districts, regions, call it what you will. Now, every district is a little bit different, but overall, the danger zone is. We call it the danger zone. And what that means is all cold foods should be properly stored and served under 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, again, some health districts may have that temperature tweaked a couple of degrees either way.
Right.
Okay. Now, for hot foods to be served hot, they should be served at 140 degrees or higher. Again, each district may have a tweak or two in the temperature a little bit.
In Georgia, it's 135.
There you go. There's one example right there.
Yeah. Right.
Now, between 40 degrees Fahrenheit and 140 degrees Fahrenheit is what we call the danger zone. This is the area where bacteria will, what's the word I want? Incubate? I mean, I don't try to, or, grow, multiply,
Sounds good.
live, if you will. That's their comfort zone, if you will. That's where they're going to grow and expand and create a nuisance for everybody. So that is so important as well. And I know when we talk about the restaurant industry, for the most part, it's common sense practice. But again, most people, when they host a party or they host a cookout or whatever, they don't think about these things. They just put the food out there and people serve themselves. And a lot of times you go to, again, we talked about the coleslaw, the macaroni salad, the potato salad. It's not iced down properly. The plates of meat might just be sitting out there on a table on a platter. There's no heat source underneath it to keep it warm.
You know what gets
I mean, I know
Tony?
a lot of people don't have catering equipment at their house more often than not to do these things, but if you think you're going to be if you're going to be hosting events or parties at your house on a, say 3-4 times a year, it might be worth your while to invest in some equipment to cater to these things. So that way, again, you're preventing, anything from happening. Doesn't hurt you to go get a couple of chafing dishes, and I mean, you can go to Walmart and even if you go to Walmart and get the portable or the disposable ones, they work great.
Right.
You can keep the stand. You just replace the aluminum containers when you need them, and you can buy the sternos in there. And I think the one rack I think it's like 3 racks in there. It's like for like $25 or $30. I mean, it's really inexpensive, and you're going to save yourself a lot more trouble at the end of the day. So
yeah, you can find them on sale. You can find a professional one on sale for $25, $30 online. And
you can do that too. Absolutely. I mean, if you shop online enough or do enough investigating, you do exactly what David said. Absolutely. No doubt about it. But again, the key is making sure the hot foods stay hot and the cold foods stay cold. We cannot stress that enough.
Well, Tony, let me ask you a question here. Can we talk about, if you don't mind, what temperatures you're saying hot foods like poultry? You have to get you have to get poultry at least 165 degrees for 15 seconds. That means,
right. We'll talk more about we talk about the cooking temperatures as well.
Okay.
Because what I was referring to as far as the hot foods, as far as the serving temperature was the 140. Thank you for bringing that up. That is a key distinction there. Right. When you cook foods, like when you're cooking chicken or beef or whatever it is, there are different temperature points that we need to, we're going to bring that up here. Actually, why don't we do this? Why don't we hold up on that part until after our break? We got a break coming up here in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, sure.
So why don't we just keep on this topic for right now, and then when we come back from the break, we'll dig into the temperatures as far as cooking the meats and all of that. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure. I just wanted to do a real fast shout out to everybody. Thank you for joining. We've got a lot of people online watching now. Go ahead, Tony.
That's awesome. That's great news, guys. I'm so happy. Again, you guys are listening to the show and chiming in. That's so great. I'm really greatly appreciative, very humble that you all are out there. And again, we are the listener supported 91.5 The Rebel HD2 KUNV Las Vegas, the broadcast service of my alma mater, UNLV. And again, that studio phone number, 702-895-3915. Come on, folks. One of you out there has got a question for us. Don't be shy. No question is too big or too small for us. And perhaps maybe you have a question on something else. It doesn't necessarily have to be about food safety. Any food-related, barbecue-related question, we can. I bet we can pretty much handle it for the most part. So don't be afraid to chime in.
I have one from Lyndon Thomason. He's in Texas. Good guy. He's got a food cooking channel too. He says, "Good morning. Is Smithfield spare ribs Duroc pork?" So Duroc pork.
Yeah, it's compact Duroc, I believe.
Yeah, he wants to know Smithfield spare ribs Duroc pork. Is it?
He wants to know the difference between the two, or
no? Is Smithfield spare ribs Duroc pork?
Okay. I believe the answer to that question is no. Smithfield is their own brand. They're more of a national brand, to my understanding, and Compact Duroc is a top-of-the-line pork product. I believe it's their own farm or their own. I'm not quite sure if it's organic. I would imagine it probably is. I know a lot of top-of-the-line competition teams like to use the compact. I always miss it up saying it.
Yeah.
I think it's just Compact Duroc, I think is what it's called. I've never cooked the Duroc myself. I've cooked with Smithfield before. I think Smithfield's it's a fair product. No complaints with it myself. But I know that the Duroc is the higher end brand, and I think you need to usually have to go to like more of a specialty shop in order to get them. I don't think too many grocery stores carry them, or even places like Costco or Sam's Club doesn't carry. You have to go to a more of a fine dining, or more of a upscale butcher shop to do that. Okay, Dave, we're coming right up here on the break. We're about 20 seconds away, so why don't we just kind of hold up here? We'll go ahead and let the break kind of do its thing, and so that way we don't get interrupted like we did last week. And then we'll come back and then we'll talk about those temperatures as far as cooking the meats. How does that sound?
Sure thing. Sounds good.
All right. Again, Battle Born BBQ Radio, Tony Merck, Dave Shackett. We will be right back. Stay tuned.
So while he's doing that commercial, if you guys want to post some questions, I'll try to get to them. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. There's a lot of people. Joe, Robert, I'm awful with names. Fabrizio, Steve, Christian, Darlene, Kimberly, Kenny, Lyndon, Robbie, Rick, Patrick, John, Christopher, Russ, Dave, Christian, Robert, Scott. Nobody's Oswald. Oh, Dave. Yeah, this is funny. Edward, Brian, Daniel, Eric. Man, there are a ton of people. I can't even. There's a lot of people, Tony. So if you guys have any questions, just let me know. I'm here to answer them, or Tony can answer them.
And we're back. Tony Merck, Dave Shackett, Battle Born BBQ Radio. Once again, we are the listener-supported 91.5 The Rebel HD2, KUNB Las Vegas, the broadcast service of UNLV. And once again, the phone lines are open, 702-895-3915. If you have a question for us, again, regarding food safety or anything else. Like I said, our gentleman here had a question regarding the difference between Smithfield and the Compact Duroc types of pork that are available. And so we addressed that there before the break there. And so now what David wanted to bring up, and again, very important, and I wasn't clear enough, and Dave cleaned it up for me. When I was talking about the danger zone earlier, we were talking about the holding and the serving temperatures. We weren't necessarily talking about cooking temperatures, and that's what we're going to get into now, because even for poultries and stuffings and ground meats and injected meats and all different types of stuff, there are different temperature ranges that need to be hit. And in just about every case, they're higher than or in some cases maybe lower, depending but for the most part, we're going to be talking about cooking temperatures. So they're going to be higher in most cases. But the temperature points that need to be obtained in order to avoid, again, bacteria issues or, again, cross-contaminating or, again, the bottom line at the end of the day, getting someone sick. So, Dave, why don't you start off with this one, because this is the one that you brought up.
Well, I'm just looking up Lyndon's question, and I think it looks to be like Smithfield sells Duroc pork, Duroc pork or Duroc pork.
Okay.
So,
okay.
That's one of their.
That's new to me.
Yeah.
We'll
Thanks, Lyndon.
we'll do a little bit more investigating on that. Maybe that's possible.
Absolutely.
Maybe they own the company. Maybe that's their high-end product.
Yeah, I think it's the high-end product. I don't think it's their standard product. So
okay, well, maybe one of our other listeners out there maybe have more information on that. If they do, by all means, share that with us. That would be great.
Sure.
And we can educate all of us. That was something I would not be aware of actually if Smithfield actually owned them. But it's very possible. Be no different than like Budweiser owning higher end product beers that or Coca-Cola owning other products themselves. It's kind of a similar thing probably.
So poultry you want to cook to 165 for 15 seconds, and that sounds kind of strange, but just bring it up to 165. Everybody usually cooks chicken to about 170. That's pretty safe. You don't want to cook it any beyond, or it's going to be pretty dried out. But at least get it to 165 for 15 seconds. And stuffing and meats to reheat or to cook at least 165 for 15 seconds. I mean, it does sound pretty strange to bring it up just for 15 seconds, but that's all you have to do.
And this comes in very, very handy when we get later in the year, we get closer to Thanksgiving. This is a key component because, many of us out there stuff our turkeys with stuffing. And my mom, growing up as a kid, she stuffed the bird, and I prefer stuffing the bird myself. So, yeah, this is a very important aspect that a lot of people, again, sometimes overlook.
Yeah. And ground meat like hamburger, you definitely want to bring it up to 155 degrees for 15 seconds. Now, some people eat it medium rare. It's like, no, thank you. And
how many times do we watch these TV shows and they make all these fancy burgers and they cut it open and it's like almost blood red in there. It's like, no, can't do that.
Well, you're taking a chance.
It's funny because, like I said, I'll order a steak in a restaurant. Medium rare to medium's fine, but when it comes to a burger, it's got to be at least medium to medium well for me.
Yeah, the fat will hold the bacteria, but you can get E. coli bacteria so fast, and you can die from it. I mean, it's real serious. You can die from salmonella poisoning. So fish, 145 for 15 seconds. Everything's for 15 seconds. Pork,
now,
beef.
Let's stop there for a second because fish. I don't know about you, but I love sushi. So I know that's a whole nother preparation and everything else, but here we are. We're going from cooking fish to 145 for 15 seconds to somebody like me that says, well, okay, if I order a piece of fish in a restaurant, which I don't normally do, but let's say it's a little undercooked. Somebody like me probably wouldn't mind it because, again, I like sushi. So I'd almost rather have it a little bit undercooked than overcooked.
Right. It becomes dried out. But the difference between sushi grade fish, like it's the parasites, like salmon, they either have no parasites or very little. And it's the process where they freeze it. They're freezing the meat for like a month or something. I can't remember the process, but they're taking the raw salmon, freezing it, bringing it out, and it kills everything in there. So when they're serving it, it is raw, but it's also been frozen and everything's dead.
Oh, okay. Even say like we see these fancy, high-end, expensive, sushi joints where they say they bring in the fresh stuff off the boat and they go down there every morning and pick out their fish and all that. How does that part work if you're not knowing about the parasites, if they're not freezing it?
No, I don't.
Or is that, maybe that's a question for another day. Maybe we need to get a sushi chef in here to talk about more about that, I guess.
I'm definitely not a sushi chef. I can make sushi. I'll eat it. I can make all kinds of different dishes for the sushi part, but yeah, I'm not an expert at the sushi.
Well, that'll be a story for another day. We can bring that up as another topic. Just because it's Battle Born BBQ Radio doesn't necessarily mean it has to be all about barbecue. I'm all about food in general and all that too. So we can bring that to the plate at some point, maybe on a future show. All right, continue down this list. Go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted Gary Bennett in Florida and David Elrod here in Georgia. How are you guys doing?
Morning, guys. Thank you for listening in. Appreciate it.
Chris just joined in. Yeah, David Elrod, and he makes some great ribs, real good ribs. So,
Chris, David, good morning. Thank you once again.
Okay, so pork, beef, veal, and lamb, 145 for 15 seconds. But it's also different if you grind it because of the fat. The fat's the factor there.
Because that's the binder.
Right. And
naturally, if it's a binder, it's going to carry bacteria along with it. It makes sense.
Yeah, so it needs to be 10 degrees hot. Sorry, hotter. Stuffed fish, chopped or ground minced fish, all that stuff needs to be, stuffed fish needs to be 165 for 15 seconds. And I mean, you can cook it and just bring it up to 165 for 15 seconds, then turn the oven off. You're good to go with the grill. I don't know if you guys have Waffle House where you live.
We don't. It's funny. I was thinking about that place as I left the station last week. I don't know why, because I know you're in Atlanta. That's where they're headquartered out of, and they have them all over the place. And we don't have any. I've never been to one. And we don't have any out here in Las Vegas.
Well, they call it the greasy spoon. But anyway, here's what gets me at the Waffle House. I know each and every person out there listening, if I'm going to see their comments. So,
except for me, because I've never been to one. But
if you've never been to one. But what they started is over the oven. And I've talked to, matter of fact, recently, I talked to the health inspector, one of the health inspectors in Atlanta area, about this, and he totally agreed with me, and he said he's doing everything in his power to change it. Is when you go to Waffle House, you sit down, you order, and you say, I'd like 2 eggs over medium. What they do is they go above the oven, the griddle, and they have eggs in a basket. Now, can you imagine eggs in a basket? Now they say, well, they're good for 2 to 4 hours or 4 hours, and then they turn bad. Well, the inspector himself has actually gone in there at that time, because what he'll do is he'll look at the time and say they have to come out at 11 o'clock. Well, that out time means not out and serve them. What it means when it's out, they're out. You throw them away, and these people are not. What they're doing is they're wiping off the board. They're putting 4 o'clock on there, and they're leaving. Right. And then they're putting eggs on top of that. So these eggs that have been sitting there for 4 hours now are sitting there for 6 to 8 hours, and then you go in there and you order the eggs, and guess what? You're going to be getting sick. And that's a fact. I can't even tell you how many times I've gotten sick going in there. Now when I go in there, if I ever go in there, I go and say, I would like 2 eggs over medium, and please take them out of the refrigerator. And you have to watch them too, because sometimes
because they have an open kitchen or a griddle, don't they not?
Yeah, they do. So I make them reach in there, grab 2 cold eggs, and then go there, and I'm good to go.
Well, that's an interesting thing to find out about them. And I understand why they do it. I mean, because they want quick access to grabbing them. But obviously what they need to do is they need to change their process. They shouldn't be over the griddle, number one. That's the worst place to put them. Why don't they have them on the other side in the refrigerated unit, where at least they can grab access to them right there, like on top or something? That would be more, at least a little better. It may not be perfect, but at least it'll be more sanitary. But to know that they have them above the griddle, that's a little scary. That's not good at all.
They
should not be there.
I just thought of an idea, Tony. And this is sometimes I'll do this. I'll carry my thermopen in, and what I might end up doing is say I'd like to get 2 eggs raw. Don't break them. Just bring me the egg itself, and I'm going to take the thermopen and just jam it in the side and just see what the temperature is. I'll guarantee you it's going to be below what it needs to be. I mean above.
Oh, you mean
sorry.
above what it needs to be?
Above, yeah.
Yeah, nah, I wouldn't be surprised. Now let's talk about another topic on a similar wavelength, at least in my eyes, it is. We go to these high-end steakhouses, and I always hear this all the time. I've even heard it from Thomas Keller, okay? Probably the #1 chef in the United States as we speak currently. All of them talk about when cooking anything, whether it's any type of a protein, when you're about to put it in the oven or put it on the grill or however you're going to cook it, they tell you to keep it out to room temperature for anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour before you put it into the oven or however you're cooking it. And then I've seen it at a couple of high-end steakhouses in town where whether they have an open kitchen or you can maybe see through or whatever, where I've seen the steaks like kind of lined up on the side, where all the cook has to do is they get an order for a ribeye or an order for a strip or a porterhouse. They just grab it off of that and they throw it, right on the grill. But they're all lined up outside it, like room temperature. Again, where do we stand on this? Because again, we're talking about food safety here, and yet we're breaking the law per se because we're letting this meat sit out in the danger zone per se. It's like where's the balancing point here? Where's the disconnect? Why is there a double-edged sword when there shouldn't be one?
Yeah, I understand. But bacteria really starts growing around 2 hours after. I believe it's like 2 hours after something's put out. Of course, I wouldn't trust that out in the sun, but I've left like steaks out for an hour before I'll put them on the grill. But I mean, if I had to, I would do 2 hours. I wouldn't have a problem with 2 hours, but anything past 2 hours, forget it. I'm not in.
Well, of course, the $1,000,000 question is that we don't know how long those steaks have been out or anything else for that matter.
Right. Yeah, there's backyard cooks that don't know better. Not saying anything bad about that. It's just that you got all these hamburgers on a platter and the boys are out playing ball and let's start them in just a little bit. That little bit out in the sun. They've been sitting there in the sun for an hour. Now it becomes an hour and a half. Now it becomes 2 hours because the kids are having so much fun. Then they go and cook them, and then a little bit later, a couple hours later, everybody's in the bathroom sick. So. And then
we pop the beer in between all that before we got them cooked. Yeah, it's a chain reaction.
It is. And it's just very important. Time and temperature, very important.
By the way, for you folks out there that maybe we're trying to take some notes on this, all these temperatures that David was sharing with us, let's save you some grief in case you didn't quite get all of them. The site that David found this information on is called foodsafetysite.com, I believe.
I'm putting a link up.
Yeah, you're gonna put a link up there online? Okay, awesome. Yeah. So that way, in case you didn't catch all those, don't fret. We got it all covered for you.
So, yeah, time and temperature is extremely, extremely important.
It absolutely is. Hey, and again, especially this time of year, I can't stress it enough. I mean, we got temperatures in the hundreds here in the desert. Where you are down there, you're probably in the 90s with humidity a lot of times. And, New England weather can be up and down all the time. They had thunderstorms and hot temperatures earlier in the week, and then it can go down to 50. So,
I lived in Boston. I lived in Boston for 7 years.
Yeah, you know the drill. You lived in Boston for 7 years, so you understand where I'm coming from.
7 long years.
Oh, come on. It was the 7 best years of your life. You know that.
Yeah, if I didn't fall on the ice and have a skiing accident and rip my leg
Well,
out and stuff. So,
well,
anyway.
okay, well, I can understand, but I'm just saying that. I'm just busting your chops.
I know.
You know that.
No problem.
All right, so let's. I had an idea that popped up here because obviously we've been talking about all these temperatures and whatnot, and I'm sure there might be a few people out there that may say, "Hey guys, how can we help control these temperatures? Like when we're cooking, is there any type of a thermometer or any type of a machine or any type of a system or anything that we can use to check our temperatures, you know, and not have to spend, you know, a whole lot of money on it when, you know, it's not a restaurant or anything, but any ideas or suggestions? I mean, I know you mentioned a thermopen earlier. I know there's other gadgets out there. I know what we do in the barbecue, the competitions and stuff, we always got our probes and our meats, and we got the temperature of the smoker as one, and then we might have our probe in a brisket, and we might have a probe in a piece of pork or something, you know, to check temperature. So we usually do that all the time. But again, the backyard cook probably doesn't have anything like that, or very little for that matter.
Yeah, I just posted one on the Facebook live that I'm doing. It's a Thermopop by Thermoworks. They make a Thermopen. I have to tell you, every once in a while you'll find a Thermoworks coming through. I'm an affiliate for them, but they throw a sale on them for like $69, $79, $89. But typically they're close to about $100, but they're worth it. They're well worth it. It's a tool that's guaranteed for I can't remember. I think maybe for life or something. They're waterproof. The new Mark IVs are waterproof. So when they get dirty, you just wash them, soap and water, and you're good to go. It takes regular batteries. It's just a really good tool. But they also have something called a Thermopop, which is much cheaper, but still great quality. And when it comes to temperatures, you need something you can trust. You don't want to use something you get for $4 or $5, because let me tell you something, if it's off a few degrees, which it will be, you're going to get sick. You can get sick.
Yeah, you can only recalibrate those things so many times in ice cold water and try to get it back down to 32 degrees.
Well, that's
I've done that more often than not, and they still don't end up working at the end of the day. So no, you do want to make that $100 investment could save you a heck of a lot more money in the end of the day, especially if you get someone sick. That's you know, that definitely could be $100 well spent, no doubt.
Hey, Bobby.
No doubt about it.
Bobby Cannon, which is Tina Cannon's husband, just joined in.
Hey, Bobby. Thanks for chiming in.
Yeah, Tina Cannon's a great competitor, barbecue competitor that's won many trophies. We were thinking maybe she might call in. Maybe we can get Bobby to.
Got a line open, Bobby. You want to call in? 702-895-3915 is the number. I know I had reached out to Tina earlier. It wasn't this week, but it was last week. She had mentioned, I think they're doing a competition this weekend, if I'm not mistaken, but maybe they got a couple free minutes. And if they do, yeah, chime on in. Or if you got a question for him online.
Okay. Hey, Harry, how are you doing? Harry Anderson just joined in.
Hey, Terry.
Harry.
Well, thanks again. Thanks, guys, to all of you listening in with David. Thank you so much. It's very humbling to know that you guys are out there listening and chiming in. That's awesome with your questions and whatnot. But again, we got that studio line open as well. So by all means, come on in. And why don't we do this real quick, Dave? Why don't we just take a short little, say, 2-minute break, get our mouths refreshed, and just take a quick little break here, and we'll be right back. How's that sound?
Sounds good to me.
All right, we'll just take a little bit break here. Tony Murr, David Shackett, Battle Born BBQ Radio. We will be right back.
And we got to continue. So if I'm inviting everyone.
Doing good.
I'm inviting everyone to call in at 702-895-3915 or actually post some questions here.
No big deal. Didn't want to jump in because you're right in the middle of the whole
thing. Oh, no, that's why I want to cut it.
They're talking in the background. Sorry about that.
Frozen turkey.
So I'll turn that down so it doesn't blast everyone. Hopefully he'll be back here in just a few minutes. Yeah, there's a lot of people joining in. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. If you guys have a question, any questions, you got to have some questions. Come on. Everybody can't know everything. And I'm not saying I know everything because I don't. But if anybody has a question about anything, just post it. I'll get to it. We've got about 15 minutes left of the show.
Yeah, but everybody knows that frozen turkey thing. And there's a YouTube video of it. Yeah, we won't talk about it.
Okay.
Because I just thought with the hot temperatures and everything, it's like here's a good time to talk.
Right. Well, bring it up.
Next week we have 1 year show.
Everybody liking so far what we're talking about, the time and temperature? And how many people agree with me about Waffle House seeing the eggs over the griddle? If you don't like that, ask them for fresh. Tell them you want cold eggs in the grill. I mean, in the refrigerator, and they'll go and get them for you. I really, really suggest and recommend doing that because, like the inspector says, he's actually caught these people to where they just pile more on top of those. Of course, he walks in and makes them throw everything away. He'll stand outside. He'll get the time and temperature, the time that's posted, and then he'll take the, and just sit there and watch. He'll come back right before.
Mark, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I was just talking about.
We're back on.
Okay, I was just talking about Waffle House.
We have a visitor.
Oh yeah.
He's back.
Hey.
Mr. Russell Mays is in the building.
Hey,
sir,
Russell.
welcome back.
How you doing, Russell?
Thank you. I've had a lot of people ask where I've been.
Yep, a little bit under the weather, but glad to see you.
A little bit. They almost buried me.
Not good.
Well, I didn't want to go that elaborate, but for those of you out there, Russell Mays' show comes on at the top of the hour, and he's got a lot to talk about, and I know
there is no doubt about that, man.
We'll leave it.
I got a lot of catching up to do.
We'll leave it at that. So, but food safety is our topic today. But I think Russ maybe had a question or a comment about food safety or whatever.
Yeah, why can't you put a frozen turkey in the deep fryer?
Well,
do you like the way you look?
I just wanted to augment it a little bit.
So, but anyways, but yeah, Russ is coming up here at the top of the hour, and he's getting his show prepped up and everything. He's ready to roll. So he likes to come in sometimes at the end of my show to throw in a few jabs, which is always good. And then I sometimes turn around and return the favors. So it's kind of how it works around here. Anyways, any other questions that popped up, Dave, while we're on break there?
No, hard to believe.
Okay, again, 702-895-3915 is the number. We've got a little less than 10 minutes here.
I got one for you. I don't know if it does really, but barbecue, a friend of mine, posted on Facebook about his grilling. Did you see that? I don't know if you saw it.
I probably haven't seen it yet, no.
And he was talking about he's got a propane grill.
Okay.
And he couldn't figure out why he was using so much propane.
Okay.
And then he discovered that the propane line had totally burnt and melted
out.
Mm-hmm. And that could be very dangerous. So if you're using propane gas, make sure the equipment is right or correct. Or
check those lines. Absolutely.
I'd say, yeah, they'll crack from, if you leave it outside, they'll definitely crack from weathering. But you will definitely need good lines, fresh lines. They're reasonable enough. If you have to, go to Harbor Freight. You can pick up something over there.
Well, let me ask you then. Let's go there then. Because I had a grill. I just got my house and everything else, and a friend of mine gave me a real nice grill. Haven't turned it on yet. Mm-hmm. What would you suggest be the best way to do that to first fresh start? New tanks and everything, or just go through it, or what do you think?
You could put old tanks, new tanks. The grill doesn't know the difference. I just don't
want to blow myself up.
Just don't light the tank on fire. No, just
well, like you just asked a few minutes ago, do you like the way you look?
Yeah,
right, exactly.
Just make sure the lines are tight. Put the lines on. slowly turn the valve on, make sure the valve's all the way open so there's no restriction and leakage around the valve, and just keep the tank away from the grill as far as you can, and you should be good to go.
Well, the tank is like built into it. You know, you got to open up a little door and put the tank in, and hook it up, that kind of thing.
Are you talking about the little small grills that you can get for $20? And
no. This one here is a pretty nice one. It's got a nice little burner on the side that you can cook stews with, and it's got the lid and the regulators and all that kind of cool stuff. It's a nice conversation piece, sort of.
Okay, does it take the 1 pound, like the green 1 pound tanks, or does it take the big white ones, the 20 pound?
It takes the big white one.
Okay, yeah, just tighten the lines, keep the tank away from the grill, and when you turn the grill on, you're going to have a little bit of air going from the tank to the line. You'll have to prime it, so it's not going to want to start right away. So keep that in mind. So you know, like looking over in the grill is like, hey, it's not working. Now all of a sudden you push the button, and then next thing you know, you don't have any eyebrows or hair. So you don't want to do that.
Well, that could be a good thing.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, seriously, I haven't even turned this on. It's been sitting there for a couple of weeks now, and the tank that's in it came with it when the gentleman gave it to me.
Do you know if there's
I have no idea if there's propane in it or not, how long it's been setting, so I'm just going to go ahead and change it all out.
Just to be safe and change it out, exchange it for a new one. Yeah,
it's probably it's going to be fine. I mean, it's not going to go bad or anything like that. Just the biggest thing, just make sure the lines aren't cracked. That's a big problem. Especially, I'm kind of thinking, I know you keep on saying the tank in it, so it has 2 doors. You open the doors, and then you put the tank in, and then you shut the doors.
Shut the doors, right? And it's the white tank that you take down to the little store or the stores and swap them out or fill them up or whatever they do. And it's the nice big 5. What are they? 5 pounds?
Is it not quite
20
sure.
pound.
Sound
20
20
pound.
pound?
The big.
like
20
20
pound.
PSI probably. Yeah.
Yeah, that's standard for home grilling.
Yeah, this is a good thing because this is new technical stuff to me.
Yeah.
I'm used to getting the charcoal briquette, throw a little lighter fluid on it, and go for it, baby.
Oh, lighter fluid! No, that's bad words around here.
Yeah, don't even. I don't have any friends that use lighter fluid.
That's why I rang the game show buzzer, because no, lighter fluid does not exist. There's 2 things in my life that do not exist: the word Yankees and lighter fluid. Okay.
Well, I'm just saying, it's just showing my age when the last time I did any kind of grilling outside. You know,
I was a couple of weeks. I'll just share real quick. A couple of weeks ago, I was at home barbecuing, and I had run out of my fire had come down, so I had to redo it. And my roommate was outside, and he grabbed some. Like, they must have had some lighter fluid outside in the backyard. He goes, "Hey, do you need that?" I'm like, "No, get that away from me. Get out. I don't ever want to see that again."
What's wrong with lighter fluid?
I apologize. I didn't mean to get too excited, but no. Rule number 1 about barbecue: never use lighter fluid.
Why is that? I'm curious. What?
It's awful.
The taste, or
the taste.
Not only that, the chemicals.
How many people?
Go ahead, Dave.
No, I was going to say, how many people out there use lighter fluid on YouTube Live? Just put thumbs up.
It makes great visuals, though. It really does.
So far, nobody's put thumbs. I mean, nobody sent me anything so far. Yeah, I don't know too many people that use lighter fluid. It's just it's bad. It makes your meat taste bad.
To be honest with you, that we're talking about it, it's pretty much out of the vernacular of the outdoor cooking. People don't talk about it anymore.
All you have to do is, I mean, these chimneys have become so popular now. The charcoal chimneys.
Right.
All you have to do is go to Home Depot, $15. You load up your charcoal in the chimney. Take the paper or the bag from the charcoal. You know, it goes down. Rip up a piece, roll it into a ball, put it underneath, light it up. Boom, you're done. 15, 20 minutes later, you got hot coals. You throw it in. Put your wood or whatever on top, or however, you're off. You're off to the races.
Yeah, I don't know too many people that use. And I'm not cutting down Kingsford charcoal. I'm just telling you, I don't know too many people that use it. There's a lot of binders and chemicals in there. All my friends, the competitor friends, we're using lump coal. The chunk.
Oh, that reminds me. I need to send you a picture. On a side note, I need to send you a picture because there was a brand of lump charcoal that I saw at Walmart, and I took a picture of it, and I wanted to get your opinion on it. But I'll send that to you later.
Let me ask you something. You brought something up that I did not know. Lump coal, is that actually the coal that is actually mined and just put into a bag?
I meant lump charcoal. What it is like wood that they partially burn and then they put it out and then they dry it out. They dry it out and then they bag it up and sell it for outrageous money for partially burnt wood. But it's good. It adds a lot of flavor. It's all natural. It's wood. That's all it is wood. It's not.
And when you put that in your chimney to light it up, it's going to be faster than regular charcoal as well. But you got to be careful because it'll pop on you.
It will pop.
Got to be a little careful with it.
It will pop.
But wow, that was a quick hour, Dave. I'll tell you.
Yeah. Wow.
Things fly by, man. We're rocking and rolling, but a great show. Thanks again to everybody who chimed in on YouTube live here with David. We really appreciate your support. It's been unbelievable last 2 weeks with this, and so it's going to get bigger and better. And again, next week, the 1-year anniversary show of Battle Born BBQ Radio. Unbelievable. Time flies when we're having fun. But for Russ, for Dave, for Tony, Battle Born BBQ Radio, we'll see you next week, folks. Take care.
Thanks a lot. A quick shout out to Randy McKnight. Thanks, guys, and I'll talk to you soon. See you next week at 10 a.m.